Dark chocolate. Long before sugar ever touched cacao, the Olmec were fermenting and drying cacao beans along the humid coasts of Mesoamerica around 1500 BCE. But the real challenge wasn't growing cacao, it was making it edible raw. Cacao is intensely bitter and full of volatile acids. It took centuries to figure out that controlled fermentation, followed by roasting at roughly 120 to 140 degrees Celsius, could break down those compounds and unlock flavor. Modern dark chocolate is defined by that balance by law. It typically contains at least 50% cacao solids, but high-end bars push past 80 or even 90%. The higher the percentage, the less sugar masks. The chemistry of the bean inside during conching, a process developed in Switzerland. In the late 1800s, chocolate is mixed and aerated for hours to evaporate unwanted acids and smooth the texture. What's left is a direct expression of terroir. Madagascar beans lean bright and citrusy, while Ghana cacao tends toward deep cocoa and roasted notes. Milk chocolate. For decades, chocolatiers faced a fundamental problem. Milk contains water, and water causes chocolate to seize, separate, and spoil. In 1875, Daniel Peter solved it after years of failure by using powdered milk, developed by Henry Nestle, removing moisture while preserving flavor. The result was the first stable milk chocolate. But the chemistry didn't stop there. Lactose sugars and milk proteins introduce new reactions during processing, especially the Maillard reaction, which creates caramel-like notes when heated legally. Milk chocolate contains lower cacao percentages, often around 10 to 40%, with added milk solids. American versions developed a slight tang because early producers like Hershey used partially lipolyzed milk, a preservation method, before refrigeration. That profile became a defining national taste. White chocolate. For years, it wasn't even considered real chocolate because it contains zero cacao solids, only cocoa butter, sugar, and milk. The problem was perception. Cocoa butter was originally a byproduct left after pressing cacao beans, and many saw it as waste. That changed in the early 20th century when manufacturers realized cocoa butter could carry flavor efficiently. Structurally, cocoa butter is made of triglycerides that crystallize into several forms. Only one gives that glossy snap and clean melt. This is why tempering is critical. White chocolate must be carefully heated and cooled to stabilize those crystals. By modern standards, it must contain at least 20% cocoa butter and enough milk solids to qualify what it lacks in cacao intensity. It compensates as a neutral fat-based medium, often infused with vanilla tea or fruit compounds. Gianduja was born out of scarcity during the Napoleonic Wars, when cocoa imports into Italy were restricted. Forcing chocolatiers in Turin to improvise, the solution was hazelnuts, specifically Piedmont varieties, rich in oils and low in bitterness, ground into a paste and blended with chocolate at around 30% nut content. The fat from the nuts reduces viscosity, creating a naturally smooth, almost fluid texture without extra cocoa butter. This innovation didn't just stretch supply, it created a new category chemically. It's an emulsion of cocoa solids, sugar, and nut lipids, finely refined to avoid graininess. Gianduja later became the blueprint for modern spreads, including Nutella. But traditional versions remain more delicate, less sweet, and more balanced. Blonde chocolate was discovered by accident, but explained by chemistry, when white chocolate is held at low heat around 110 to 120 degrees Celsius. For extended periods, the milk sugars and proteins undergo the Maillard reaction. Instead of burning, they caramelize, transforming both color and flavor. What started as a mistake by a French pastry chef in the early 2000s became a controlled process. The challenge was consistency, maintaining precise temperatures to avoid separation while encouraging uniform browning. The result is a golden chocolate with notes of toasted milk, shortbread, and butterscotch. Structurally, it remains similar to white chocolate, but chemically, it's more complex due to new flavor compounds formed during heating.